Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker. So right now is graduation season. You have people graduating from high school and college in the next few months or so. So what happens during this particular time is a lot of landlords get flooded by either recent graduates from either high school or college who have just gotten their first job. Nowadays, more than ever before, many people are taking on jobs that are not in their home city or where they currently live. It's somewhere else, and it forces them to relocate. Okay? It can be very hard and daunting for, recent graduates, and also, to be honest, people who don't graduate, people who are still in school, but they get a short internship. Okay? So, as a landlord, I'm going to talk about how you would go about assessing these type of candidates or these type of potential tenants. All right? Now, the first thing you want to do is verify their employment. Yes, it's their first job, so you can't really look at job history. However, what you can do is you can contact their employer or tell them to give you a letter from that employer where it would include what the position is, what their salary is, what their start date is, and as well as contact details. Okay? Now, what I do, I take it a step further. I go to Google and I'll Google the business so that I can have their main number and have them transfer me to the department that is on that paper, because I have seen and I know people who lie about their employment. They will say they work a certain place that they don't work at. They will say that they'll work at a place and that part will be true, but how much money they make, that part will be a lie. Or how long they've worked there, that part will be a lie. So that's one of the reasons why I take it that extra step. Okay, and I do that with everybody. The next thing is income to rent ratio. Okay, typically you don't want the rent to exceed 1/3 of the tenant's monthly income. All right, so if the rent is $800 a month, you don't want somebody who makes $800 a month. You want somebody who makes more than that, so that this way it ensures that you will get your rent every month. Next, let's talk about the credit check. Typically, with these candidates, I hold the credit check lightly. I do not hold it at the same standard as somebody who's been in the work world for a long time. Why? Because these children, they're getting their feet wet. It's their first job. It's their first internship, or even if it's their third internship. I still don't give the credit check as much weight as someone who has way more experience. Now, the next thing that people do, and I think it's a good idea, even though, to be honest, I didn't do it, and that is they get references from previous landlords, university housing, or just personal references. Okay, so you can do that if you wish, just to see if there's anything that might be important to note about that particular tenant that's going to rent from you. Normally, though, when it comes to previous landlords, the last landlord is not always the best one. The best one is like several landlords back. They'll give you a better idea of how this particular person will keep your property. And then, of course, in your lease, you want to make sure you have certain things written in your lease so that if any part of the property is destroyed or not well kept, that you definitely charge that tenant, that, let that potential tenant know they will be charged for any fixes. Okay. Now, here's another thing that many do. Many college students do this, and that is they'll get a guarantor. A guarantor is basically someone who agrees to be financially responsible for the lease if the tenant fails to pay it. All right. Now, what are the qualifications? The qualifications is that the guarantor must be over 18. The other thing is there are some people that require that the guarantor live in the same state. Why? Because it's just easier to sue them for the money that is owed in case anything it happens. Next thing, now this is where you want to be a little strict with the credit score for the guarantor. You want to make sure they are in good standing. Okay. You also want them to provide proof of income and a government issued ID. Now, you will have some people nowadays, they're hesitant in sharing IDs. I get it because of the scams that are out there. But what you can do is say, in person, when we meet in person, show me your ID, and then I will give you the keys. You can do that. Or you can ask the person to give you their job ID, because normally their job ID doesn't have, critical information on it outside of their picture and their name. So you can do that. And many tenants will agree in doing that type of thing. Okay? When you're looking at the guarantor, you also want to make sure that there's some financial stability, meaning what is in their bank account. Is what in their bank account enough to carry their rent and the rent that you are renting to these college students or not? Okay. Do they have enough to cover both, if anything? All right. Then after you do all of that, you definitely want to send the guarantor a written agreement, which basically spells out what the obligations are, outlining it in writing. And this should be a separate document from the lease. It should not be the same document. There should also be some disclosures there in case any terms of the lease are misunderstood. And the agreement should also specify which state laws apply. Typically, you want the state laws of where the property is located. But you can, like, let's say it's an LLC, you can have it set up so that it operates under the laws of wherever your LLC was created as well. The thing is that when you do it that way, and let's say your LLC for your building is in another state, if you need to collect money, both of you will have to go to that other state and attend that court in order to retrieve the money that you need. Okay? So these are the things that you need to think about when you are looking at new tenants who are recent graduates. Okay? Now, some people, they don't want to be bothered. Particularly those who are in 1 to 4 family, sometimes they're just not comfortable. And in many places, you have the right to choose what type of tenant you want living there. But what I'm saying is, I don't think you should turn a blind eye to them. I've had positive experiences. I'm not guaranteeing that you will, but it doesn't necessarily have to be negative. Okay? This is how I do it. And I think that if you implement these steps, you'll be successful with it too. Okay? All right. That's it. That's all for now. Until next time, have a good night.